Hey guys, in this video we are taking a look at the GIMP and how to customize the GIMP. Now, I was inspired by the last couple of videos that I did, which looked at the themes and also the Photoshop keyboard shortcuts for GIMP, to look a little bit more into the customization of GIMP. So in this video, I wanted to present some ideas about how you can go a little bit further in customizing mouse keyboard shortcuts or mouse shortcuts for GIMP, and also how you can go about customizing the themes themselves. Now, in order to get the most out of this video, I would recommend watching the previous two videos, but it should be quite an educational one, even if you haven't watched those. Now, just a quick note before we go on, I wanted to mention that I'm experimenting with different video settings and also different audio settings. So if you've got any feedback to give about any aspect of the video quality or the audio quality, feel free to go ahead in the comments and just leave your comments there. It might influence how the videos and audio are presented in future. Let's take a look at the project which really inspired this, which is the Photoshop keyboard shortcuts for GIMP 2.10. Now, one of my viewers asked in that video whether or not I was going to be using these keyboard shortcuts. Quick answer is no. I don't really like the keyboard shortcuts for Photoshop. And the second thing is, once you've used GIMP for a while, you develop your own keyboard shortcuts, and you got muscle memory. So I want to just take a few things from this project and then put them into my own keyboard shortcuts. Now, the reason I recommended this project was when I looked at it, it's really well thought out. It's got 120 keyboard changes, 8 mouse key changes or mouse changes, online reference. It works with all themes. It's cross-platform, fully documented, and you've got the rationale for the differences in the way that the keyboard shortcuts are laid out in this particular project compared to the standard keyboard shortcuts. But in any case, the way it's presented is really useful for people who are moving from Photoshop to GIMP and want something like a crutch, something that will help them to really get into it in a short period of time. And the other thing is that it has got some pretty decent ideas, which I hadn't thought of before. And I want to take a look at some of those ideas in a little bit more detail. So we'll go into GIMP right now, and what I want to do is to look at, let's just open up some project, and this is something we're going to be looking at a bit later on, which is how to create your own splash screen for GIMP. And that's going to be using a PSD mockup. But anyway, that's going to be a different project. For this one, I want to demonstrate how you can create mouse shortcut keys. And with these ones, you could make the mouse scroll for you. I'm just scrolling the mouse wheel in and out, or the mouse wheel up and down, and it's scrolling in and out. If I choose the paintbrush, for instance, I can change the size of the paintbrush using the Alt key on my keyboard and the mouse wheel, or I can change it in larger steps incrementally like that, using the Shift key and the mouse wheel. And I think these are things that are really useful. And what I want to do is to very quickly go through what you might do to get these sorts of results. Now, just referring back to the previous video that I did, you may remember that we had a couple of files that we dragged into the GIMP folders. One of those files is open here, and it's called the controller RC. Now, this one has got all the keyboard shortcuts that I've designed for this version of GIMP, for this installation of GIMP. And you can see them here. So for instance, the scroll down is view zoom out, and the scroll up is view zoom in. So if I wanted to, I could actually copy these and put them into my installation of GIMP, into this particular file, and they would be there for me to use anytime I wanted. Now, the benefit of doing this is that you can choose which things you want to copy over, and you can see here what they are doing. Well, this is how GIMP actually organizes this. So you've got scroll up, shift, primary, alt. What does that mean? Well, it's the scroll up on the mouse wheel, Shift is Shift, Alt is Alt, and primary is of course going to be Control. Mac calls it Command. So they just call it primary in this file here. The second part of it is a little bit more difficult to understand. It's something that comes from within inside of Gimp, and you really need to go inside of Gimp to really understand what's going on. But to get the scroll down shift, making the tool size decrease in a rapid way, we use this command here. We use tools size decrease %. So there's no need to remember that, and I'm going to show you how to actually get this stuff inside of Gimp. So here we are back inside of Gimp. Let's go to Edit. Let's go to Keyboard Shortcuts. And here we've got the keyboard shortcuts that you're probably familiar with if you've watched my previous video. We'll go ahead and type in Tools with an apostrophe, Size. And you can see here, I've actually used two keyboard shortcuts, the open bracket and the close bracket, the square ones, for tool size decrease %. So if we just close that and I tap on those keyboard shortcuts, you can see they rapidly increase the size of the GIMP. The size of the paintbrush. The GIMP is staying the same size. So the size of the paintbrush changes very rapidly, and I can go and then hold down Alt and scroll to get a more precise size. Now, let me show you how to set those keyboard shortcuts inside of GIMP itself, because the ones in the keyboard shortcuts menu, really they refer to something a little bit different. Let's go to Edit, Input Devices, and here you can see that we've got a number of things that we can use for inputting. Now, we've got one thing here, which is the core pointer, and that's the only thing that's active. This is obviously not what we want, but I think in previous versions of GIMP, I think that's where you might actually have gone. I'm not 100% sure. What we need to do in GIMP 2.10 is to go to Preferences, and inside of Preferences, we have Input Devices. And inside of Input Devices, we have Input Controllers. And here we have a bunch of things that are bound to cause you a little bit of confusion. We've got the available controllers and we've got the active controllers. Now, because these two are active, these are the ones I'm going to configure. And there's a tiny little button down here, which we're going to click. And that allows us to configure here the main mouse wheel. Now, as you can see here, it's a little bit difficult to see what's going on here. And that's because of the particular theme that I'm trying out. I need to edit this a little bit to make things a little bit clearer. And I'm going to show you how to do that a bit later on. But for the time being, let's look at the commands that we have here. You notice that the commands here are actually very similar to the commands that we had inside that file. And in fact, if we were to bring up that file again, there's actually a statement at the top of the file which says that that file is updated every time GIMP is used. So every time I close GIMP, that file will be changed to reflect whatever's going on here. And that's important to note in case you're trying to edit the two things at the same time. This one here will always overwrite what's in that file that you're editing. So let's go ahead and look at my scroll up without shift. That's got view, zoom in. Scroll up shift has got tools, size, increase %. That's what's causing the size of the brush to increase rapidly when I'm holding down the shift key. You see how that happens? And without holding the shift key, it's just using that as a zoom in, zoom out. So that's how it works. So we could actually edit here, and I'm going to edit something that doesn't really count. I've got a scroll left, which on my mouse, there's no scroll left button. So let's just edit that and give it some random event. Let's choose edit, and it gives us a choice of options that we could assign to that particular keyboard shortcut or that particular mouse shortcut if it actually existed. So let's go to paths and choose, let's say, copy path. Hit OK, and now it would open up that particular option. that is basically how you apply the keyboard shortcuts. And once you hit close, OK, I think it's effective immediately. If it's not effective immediately, you would need to shut down and restart Gimp. But that is how you edit the mouse shortcuts inside of Gimp. They are, I think, fairly useful to edit. But one thing to be aware of is edit preferences. Let's go back to input devices, controllers. There are some options down here. And I gotta admit, I'm not completely sure why we have these other options. So you might think my mouse wheel is the same as this one, but no, this is a different one. And mouse buttons, if I was to try to select that one and add that one to the mix, you can see now we've got buttons on the mouse, which I can use to actually apply this particular set of options to. So I could choose my mouse button 8, edit event, and then choose, let's say, file. Let's say I wanted to close everything using that button. We can hit OK. Now, if I choose that particular button, button 8, and file close all should occur. Let's close this. Let's hit OK. And let me see if I can activate that. I don't think I'm going to be able to activate that. Let's see. Okay, so the mouse button ones are not producing any kind of result. So, interesting. But anyway, the mouse wheel ones I found to be very effective in improving the workflow. The mouse button ones I've difficulty with, and maybe someone, if you guys know how to operate that, maybe you might leave a comment. Input controllers, the ones that are on the right hand side, we can edit those as much as we want. Let's remove this because it's not really useful. Let's send this back, remove controller. And if I try to add this one over, it will say you can only have one active wheel controller. So we can hit OK. And I don't know why it gives us those two options, but again, that's a bit of a mystery. I'm going to cancel out, and that is the end of the presentation for editing the mouse shortcut keys inside of Gimp. Okay guys, things are going to get a little bit nerdy now. What we're going to do is to look at how to customize themes inside of Gimp. Now, what we're going to do is to look at the themes that I looked at in a video that I did a couple of videos back, which are the Clear Looks themes. Now, you may remember what I did was that I created my own theme, and it's this teal hints dark theme. And now, one of the curious things about Gimp is that even though it's design software, I can't find any way of actually editing the themes inside of Gimp. So we have to get a bit nerdy and go into the folder, which in this case is going to be found here. And the file that we need to edit, let's go and take a look at that. So if we go into the folders where Gimp is located, we get this file here, which is called GTKRC. And that file is an ordinary text file. So I've just right-clicked the file and opened it up inside of Notepad. And in my one, I might have edited it a little bit, so it may be a little bit different from your one. But essentially what we've got here is all the good stuff. I'm sure you like seeing all this kind of stuff. It's very appetizing, very inviting. If you've done HTML or anything like that, you'll find the edit very simple. But if we go to line 71 in my one, we've got this line here, which is called GTK color scheme equals, and then it has an HTML color. So that's going to be red. The first two digits are red, the second two are green, and the third two are blue. So it goes from 00 to FF. So if I type in FF, let me keep it all caps just to keep everything consistent. FF, FF, and 00. since red and green add up to yellow, let's save that and let's see what the theme looks like now. Let's go to Edit Preferences. Let's go to Theme and let's just click away once and then click back again to the teal hints dark. And it should now be bright yellow. There we are. So that's how you can actually check to see what it looks like. I'm going to choose a different color because I honestly think that yellow looks horrid. So we'll undo the changes and then I want to brighten this up a little bit. So we can go to let's say 3540 and let's say this is going to be FF. So it's going to be a pretty bright blue color or dark blue color. Let's save that and again click away once and then click back again. Don't click in the wrong place. Let's click back in the right place. Boom. Then we get that bright garish blue color. Now that's obviously too bright, so I'm going to lower the blues. We'll take them down to 80, which is mid blue, and let's see what that looks like now. Okay, let's click away once and you'll notice that the text is changing. I'm going to show you how to edit the text in just a moment. There is the dark bluish color. Maybe that's not teal enough, so I'm just going to raise the greens. Let's lower the blues down to 70 and the reds can go up to 40. Save and let's try again. So you can see it's pretty straightforward and that looks more or less like what I'm liking for my edit. And this is the original. This is what I've come up with. And there we are. Let's take a look at the text and see why the text is a little bit larger. I think this is it here. I think the original is, this is line 114, font name equals sans 8. I've changed it to 11. Let's save that. And if I click once here and then update this guy here, it should be a smaller text. Much smaller. Let's go ahead and change this to 12. And once again, click here and then click back again. And we should have a much larger text. So you can play around with the text just by editing those two lines, changing this number and the other number for the color. Now, the other thing to do is to play around with Windows. So I'm going to hit the Windows key, X. We're going to Settings, System, Display. And in Display, I'm going to click on the relevant monitor. And what we can do is to change the scaling. 125, 150, 175. And it will depend on your resolution, but that will alter the colors. It will not the color, it will alter the text inside of Gimp. And you may need to shut down Gimp and restart it to see everything properly, because if you do change this, number one, my recording software just crashes if I change this, so I'm not going to do it. But if you do it yourself, you'll find that Gimp start looking weird, and until you shut it down and restart it, it's not gonna look the way that you really think it should. Let's go ahead and let me change this back. Let me keep it at 12. So let me play around with 12 for a couple of days and let's see what that looks like. And let me just go ahead and make sure I've got the right one selected. Theme. Teal hints dark. There we are. Let's hit OK. And there we are. So I'm going to play around with it for a couple of days and see how I feel about it. If I want to keep it, I'll keep that one, probably delete the other ones that I downloaded. And that is going to be it. I really feel that those themes are worth looking at if you want something a little bit different, a little bit stylish, something you can work with yourself. We are going to leave it at that, guys. And if you have any questions, leave them in the description below. Again, I would love some comments on the way the audio sounds and the way the videos look. You happy with it? Is it not too good? This is time for a little bit of change. So would love a little bit of feedback. I'm going to see you guys next time. And we're going to be looking at how to create a splash for GIMP. That is going to be it now. See you next time. Bye.